Hello and welcome. Now, every year around the same time, the President of the nation delivers an address to citizenry. Now, this is a constitutional mandate that enables the father of the nation to tell us how he, together with his team, is managing our resources and leading us to the promised land. What is the state of the nation in your opinion? Is it just an annual ritual? Is it a true reflection of what you and I experience on a daily basis? Does it restore hope, give direction and confidence in our leadership and governance and structure? The President, John Mahama, will address the nation for the second time tomorrow to account for his stewardship and outline his vision for 2014. Now, what did he say in 2013? And how close did he stick to these promises? Have we improved significantly in any particular sector since 2013? Looking back at the address of 2013 and probably before, has this just become a talk shop? The State of the Nation address as a constitutional decor against a functional policy tool of state. Where do we draw the balance? Now, my guests in the studio are Kwesi Amoafo-Yeboah, former independent presidential candidate and entrepreneur, board chairman of Venture Capital Trust Fund, and Bishop Aklogo, executive director of ISODEC Ghana. When I come back, we'll start talking. My name is Nana Sakwa, and this is PM Express. What is the state of the nation today? Obviously, tomorrow, the President, John Dramani Mahama, would come to Parliament and deliver to us the true state of the nation. However, you and I live in the state, so we feel and see the truth of it. However, he's going to give us all the nitty-gritty and the fine details of what's behind what we see and feel. But is it going to be a true reflection? And indeed, last year he did the same, and he made promises. Has he achieved them? And does he even care to achieve them? Because you and I probably wouldn't do anything. Let me introduce my guest in the studio again. To my extreme left is Bishop Aklogo from ISODEC, Executive Director of ISODEC. And to my immediate left, Kwesi Amoafo-Yeboah, former independent presidential candidate, entrepreneur, board chairman of Venture Capital Trust Fund. Gentlemen, you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bishop, let me start with you. Have we improved significantly from 2013, and the average Ghanaian will say, do we care?
Well, it's a mixed bag. Given the challenges that not only Ghana, many other countries have had to face with the triple problems of energy, climate, and the financial crisis, Ghana has had its share. So some things we've begun, some things we could do better, and I'm sure that the President will account to us. Since sovereignty belongs to us, the Constitution has found it necessary for him to account every year for how he has managed the state, and then to give us hope that he'll be able to do so and maybe improve on it the next year.
Kwesi, the Constitution mandates the President to come and give a State of the Nation address. Have we gotten to the stage where, well, the Constitution says you can't do it, so I'm going to do it? Or are we at a stage where he really needs to improve the state so that he comes to tell the citizenry that, listen, I've moved you from point A to point B?
Well, maybe the idea of the State of the Nation address, when it was conceived, was to account for what has transpired, what has happened the year before. But for me, it's important that the focus be on what policy is going to be, what policy direction we're going to see, and also to get us motivated to do certain things. We all live in this country, we live in this economy, we participate in it, and we get to the point where we're so comfortable with what we're doing that we don't really look beyond our comforts. And then when it hits us, then we want to run to leadership and say, hey, what happened? So I think that it's important that we look beyond just let me go and stand in front of the nation through Parliament and tell them what I did the year before, but also how do I get everybody on board so that we can move together.
Bishop, let me come to you. There's 2 points that I want to raise, but let me do the get everybody on board. We have built a system where that even if the president came tomorrow and says, listen, I've got so much gold and I need to give to all the citizens, there will be half the nation who will say, I am allergic to gold, merely because you're coming from a political divide that I don't believe to. So how does he get everybody on board?
Well, we have to learn that when leadership speaks, the rest of us need to fall in line and put all hands on deck. Countries that have made it, that's how they did it. So once elections are over and we all fall behind the leadership, that's what my brother said. The leader provides motivation. They give the broad direction, and the rest of us, including state institutions, are configured to not deliver on those. The president doesn't need to go through the nitty-gritties. His team are supposed to do that. So I think that we've gotten to a point where we need to go above partisan politics, regional politics. The reason why we are where we are is because of the absence of this political settlement. That is an equilibrium of economic, social, and political forces that allow you to put energies, build synergy behind a common national vision. And then together we can get there. If we don't, if we compare ourselves to those countries that we initiated reform with, we have done more than them. But the outcomes for us are much, much lower. And we can't continue on this path, given that every day we are turning out many young people who need jobs. The rural areas are now moving into the urban areas in larger numbers, are not seasonal. They're not about to go back today or tomorrow. So we need to build a resilient economy. We cannot do that with only some. We need all. And right from independence to date, we've not had opportunity to build this cross-regional, cross-ethnic, cross-party platform of energy that we can unleash behind a common national vision. That is something we need to resolve now.
Because see, last year the president looked at education and found out that, listen, one of the major challenges in education is access. People finish JSS and there isn't enough SS schools for them to go to. And indeed, the gap is so huge. So he said, you know what, I'll build 200 in the next 4 years. It's a year down the line and he hasn't built the 200. So what we are hearing is that in that case now, I have to increase and build, he was going to build 50 a year. So now he has to build 100 a year. We can't fault him, we can't do anything to him. He said it, you come and say 100. Indeed, if he comes up and goes, well, I couldn't build you 100, so now I'm going to do you 200 a year, we still won't do anything. I mean, what is the substance in what he's telling us? Where is it?
Well, I think the last I heard that some, sword cutting ceremonies had, happened in parts of the country, and that, we're going to start seeing some of those schools being constructed. But I think it's important for us to understand that, there may be unforeseen events that will happen from the time you make a statement, a promise, to when you actually deliver. When I was competing in 2008, I deliberately refused to criticize who was sitting in the chair, because you don't have all the information. When you're coming from outside, you see things a certain way from when you actually get in there. So I think that oftentimes we need to recognize that there is more than one road to the destination, and that if somebody decides to take this road, it doesn't mean that, you know, if you think that this road is better, that you know, we should all sort of move away from there and come behind you. I think also that in general our politics is bad. We are always politicking. We need to at least allow 3 years out of a term for a president to take us where he thinks that we should be going. When people start criticizing every move that the leader is making, it becomes very, very difficult, because then what you do is you push that leader to focus on immediate gratification. And the immediate gratification oftentimes doesn't lead us to really where we want to go. We don't have real national goals. You see, if we did, and we all knew that we were moving from Accra to Kumasi, then whoever was in the driver's seat, if they decided to take the Insawam Road and they get someplace and there's a bridge broken, we all understand that the destination is Kumasi, so we don't come back, you know. But in the absence of that, what is going to happen is that every time there's a change in government, things are going to change, and we'll reverse positions, and then we'll get nowhere. So we need to change the politics and focus on what is in the national interest, as opposed to how can I unseat this leader, you know, in this period. And because after all, politics is about improving the lives of people. So if you are not in power and your whole goal is to sit on the fence and fold your arms and not make any contribution or suggestions, then do you really want to come and lead the people? You know, and it happens on both sides. You know, it happens on all sides.
Is our system creating bad people, or are bad people inheriting our system?
Well, if you ask me that question, I mean, I believe in the inherent good nature of people. So I'll always say that perhaps it's the system that is changing the people. But you know, I think that we ought to look at the system very seriously. Let me
put the same question to Bishop. Bishop, do you think our system is creating bad leaders, or are bad leaders, unfortunately, you know, inheriting a system?
Bit of both. See, the challenge that we face is bigger than any one political party, and requires, as I said, all of us. There are two main challenges that we need to balance in trying to govern the country. We have the issue of steering structural change, so that we can move from low-earning, diminishing return activities to high-earning, increasing return activities. That's one set of targets, challenges. Then you have the issue of the fundamentals, the issues about democracy, the infrastructure, the education, and the health that you talked about, so that you prepare your citizens, healthy, educated people who are better able to take advantage of opportunities. And then your structural change comes, and you're better able to manage it. Reason being that structural change will happen whether you like it or not. See those countries position themselves to manage it. Can you imagine we had another 30–40% of the rural areas ending up in Accra? Traffic, pressure on services, and all of that. If we don't do it, it's going to happen. So how do we develop more Kumasi and Accras outside Accra and Kumasi, so that we can redistribute labor and capital in such a way that we have more balanced development? So there's less pressure on the few regional capitals that we have. Now this requires most all of us to put hands on deck. Now the system that we inherited from colonial authorities is not the best. Serious countries have either reformed it or thrown it away and structured their own way of getting to where they want to go. And as my senior brother said, if we determine where we want to be, then different political persuasions can now come and compete and say, we have a better way of taking you there. And we interrogate you and we determine that yours is the best, we will give the chance to take us there. If you don't take us there, we already provided a system where we can say, okay, please, let's try somebody else. The system is already there.
Bishop, I mean, I've listened to you and all of you have mentioned having a national agenda in so many ways. We have very learned people in Parliament. I mean, 275 of them. We had, we had to add 45 to get to 245, so that we know that we have a lot of brainy men and women. What is going to take them or us to say, put the brakes on? We are all wasting each other's time if we don't have a consensus. What will make us come to that point? Let me start with Bishop.
It will take us citizens to compel the ruling elite to sit down, like we did with independence. We had to put pressure on the ruling elite. Not all of them. Some said independence in the foreseeable future. Some said now.
No.
We got it.
But the point is, independence had to be spoken about.
Yes, and we had to mobilize across board. Rural areas, teachers, nurses, name it. We need to mobilize similarly to put pressure on the ruling elite to sit down and confront the issues and not to play this blame game that they engage in. They need to mobilize and confront them.
Because I'll bring you in the same. What would it take for us to wake up?
Yeah, I think I share what my brother here is saying. But I already think that the process is in place already. We just need to speed it up so that the plan can be delivered, so that we can all see, debate it, and agree on it, and then move forward. Because I think it's very, very important. Because once that is done, then we will not have the need to constantly be talking about politics all the time, because it takes a lot of our attention. And right now, for me, the most serious challenge we have is how do we employ all these people? We need to focus our attention there, and because that's where revenue is going to come from. We're a middle income country now, so we can't go out and beg anymore. We got to start generating our own revenue, and we can't do that unless all hands are on deck, meaning everybody is working. I don't see 25 million beggars in Ghana. I see 25 million people who are proud to be Ghanaian and want to do something.
I want to take a break here. When I come back, I'm going to ask my gentlemen in the studio, do they really have faith that, as for tomorrow's State of the Nation address, it's going to be the killer? That's going to be the changing point. Do they have that feeling in them? Stay tuned. What is the State of the Nation today? Now, tomorrow we'll get the true State of the Nation from His Excellency the President himself. So we're just trying to assess between us what we feel and see around us today before he brings us. And before we went on the break, I just wanted to find out from my guest in the studio, between 2013 State of the Nation address and now, is there anything in there that gives them confidence that yes, tomorrow's one is just going to lift us above the bar? Let's start with you, Bishop. I mean, tomorrow's State of the Nation address, looking back at all previous stations, because we've had 20 so far, counting. I mean, is there, looking at the trend, is there anything that you think that, well, tomorrow is going to be the killer, the difference?
Well, this is not like a lottery, though. See, as of now, if we were to have the system right in place, but now the MDAs that were configured to deliver on the 2013 should have put out their outputs and what they have achieved so far. So you and I can even use that, see that even before the President comes on, to tell us a summary of what is done so far. For me, I think that given the challenges we faced, we cannot afford not to be hopeful. Given the attempts that we've made so far, sacrifices that we've made to get to where we are, we cannot afford not to be inspired by what is going to be said tomorrow in the sense that from what discussion that we've had with what section of society, we did a national consultation as to what priorities, Ghanaian priorities are. Those were consolidated in what we call the Social Pact. Those were submitted to the Office of the President, to the NDPC. If those are ones that are going to future, I expect that jobs, quality and decent jobs, are going to be a key feature of this address. And then the President might tell us concretely how he's going to configure his MDAs, working with the private sector to deliver these jobs within a transformed and diversified national economy, so that we have educated a healthy workforce, we have an economy that can move a lot of people and resources from the low earning rack to a high earning rack. We are having urbanization without structural change that favors creation of quality jobs. We need to find a way to reverse that. And I believe that these are some of the things that are going to inspire us and provide the pointers so that we can all mobilize behind the President and his team to get us where we're going to get, where we need us to go. But we are going to be more choicy this time. We're going to put pressure on the political elite to deliver. In the future, we are not going to accept targets like we are going to start, we are going to initiate. Those are too vague. We will want something more concrete that we can hold, that we can touch. In 1 year, this is what I'll deliver. In a medium term, this is what you should expect from me, your chief executive. That will be my.
So no more is in the pipeline?
No. No pipeline. Even though we now have petroleum, if you talk too much about pipeline, people would like to open the pipeline and see what is in there. We don't want that to happen.
So date from 15th February to 16th August, this will be achieved. That's a good point. That's a good point. You see, so, Kwesi, you know, we have to have a glimmer of hope because we can't lose hope. But we still have to get hope from leadership. I mean, with you, what, between last year and now, is there anything that you've seen that, that is where my glimmer of hope is and I'm hanging on to it?
Well, you know, just, and I know that, you know, when you say this, people might say, well, the Bank of Ghana really is a separate entity from government, but what is happening with the currency right now, for me, is a major advantage for us. It's time for us to take a look at this thing and ask ourselves the question: do we really want to continue the way we are going, and just look at our currency as being worthless? You know, I was having a discussion with somebody today, and I said to him, look, before cash came into existence, there was barter. And so barter, basically, you plant cocoyam, you go and exchange with somebody who plants cassava, and, you know. And then somebody came up with a bright idea that, oh, let's create a value of a medium of exchange where we don't need to focus on the barter anymore, and that brings us to where we are. So now instead of us looking at the piece of paper as a medium of exchange, we're looking at it as a stored value. And so when we think that the value is going to go down, then we rush into safety elsewhere. Now, it doesn't make sense for us to look at somebody else's currency as a better store of value than ours. Because if we do that, it will continue to drop. So when Bank of Ghana comes and says, these are the directives we're going to put in place to assure that this doesn't happen. I mean, of course, everybody points fingers at government. But I think that for me, it's really a step in the right direction in trying to improve the confidence level that we as Ghanaians have in our own currency.
It's not merely just looking at it. Is it not demand and supply that determines whose value is higher? Because if you want more of my currency, then well, I'm going to give it to you at 3-1. If you even want further more, then it's 6-1. If you don't want it at all, and I need to entice you to come and buy, then I say, oh, look, it's 1-1 coming. So is it not the demand and supply?
Well, demand and supply plays a major role, but also the average person walking down the street, what does that person need with dollars or pounds or euro? Absolutely nothing, because they're not traveling, they're not absolutely nothing. So if those people think that the city is going down, so they rush to the Forest Bureau to buy dollars, they put in more pressure on demand. You see what I mean? So take some of that out, and maybe the pressure will go down, and the city will stabilize a bit. And I think that's a decision that needed to be taken, and you know, for the long-term good of the economy and the country. And so it makes me hopeful that you know, we're biting the right bullet and moving in the right direction. And I expect that tomorrow we'll hear a message of motivation, a message of empowerment, and you know, and I hope that we'll all buy into it, and so that we can move this nation forward.
Bishop, let me stay with this currency thing before I moved on. Even though it's good, you know, let's trade in your own currency, deal with your own currency. However, apart from your currency, every other thing else, you're dealing foreign. So eventually you need the currency to go and get, I mean, we even need dollars to get cedis in, right? Because we import cedis from elsewhere. So we literally need dollars to get the cedis in. What then happens is, what happens to those who have just got, look, I have 10 million Ghana cedis and I want to leave in my savings. By the time you come in, you know, 5 years time, you probably have 8 million Ghana cedis left, as in value or what you can purchase with. I mean, if we don't cut down or import more, or export less, you know, how do we solve that problem, Bishop?
Well, first and foremost, the value of your currency versus a basket of other currencies has many factors affecting it. For example, your productive capacity, your ability to produce some of the things that people will import. If I did a head-to-tail analysis of all of us in this room, I bet you that between 70 and 80% of what we are wearing from head to toe will be imported. That's one of the pressure points on your local currency. Now, if you take from 83, when we started with the economic reforms, to date, manufacturing has responded very little. So our own manufacturing, after 66, you basically almost dismantled our manufacturing base, and we haven't built it back. So we import too many things: screwdrivers, nails. So if until we have built back our productive capacity, we won't be able to defend. And remember that apart from your territorial integrity, where your soldiers go and stand with guns, your currency is the other area of defense that you must be very careful the way you handle it. Any attack on your currency is equivalent to terrorists attacking your country. And we ourselves initiate the attack by the way they will behave. As you said, why would you want to store your wealth in dollars or pounds or euro that you don't have confidence? We know that usually when it's leading up to elections, people are not sure what happens. They want some dollars so that they can easily jump over the border. Something should happen. But we don't expect that in normal times people will be wanting to rush and buy foreign currency to store. So part of it is in our mind. If we have confidence in our own systems, in our own ability to solve our problems, there will be less pressure. There will be less motivation for you to go and store money in that sense. And then the whole financial architecture has a problem. See, finance is supposed to drive the real sector, not to take a life of its own. You see, so until we refit and send finance where it belongs, which is that you are there to support the real sector of the national economy, to do active production, not to go about doing some crooked products called innovative services and taking a life of your own. so that you and I, it is easier for us to buy and sell money than to support a manufacturer to make us clothes, to make us food, to make us cars. So we need a lot of reorientation, our traders, and to support our manufacturers to be able to produce some of the things that we import. And then we had the root of the problem is that we're running a new colonial economy. It hasn't changed since we took over from the British. So until we change the structure of that economy, partly through the structural change that we're talking about, and then we move away from diminishing return activities. Tax all the diminishing return activities, including your mining and your oil. Tax them so you can use the money to support increasing return activities like the manufacturing. Until we do that, our currency will go through this. And again, it all falls back on political settlement. Political settlement will allow you to stand together as a nation and say, look, we won't allow our city, not to be tearing each other apart, blaming each other. Then you are further putting pressure on the city because you don't have a united front against your economic enemy. And so the enemy takes advantage of your division. And so your currency goes further down. So these are some of the factors that we need to address. Leadership has to be up and doing. I'm not just talking about president or politicians alone. Business leaders, religious leaders, traditional leaders, all of us need to defend the currency. And we do that by eating what we grow and growing what we eat, wearing what we can make, and ensuring that we do not frivolously spend and demand goods that we do not have the capacity to support.
Last year we were promised a robust economy that was going to grow at 8%, if that. And with my basic economy, even that 8% growth, a chunk of it belonged to businesses that came from outside with their capital from outside. So obviously, they will repatriate all their profits to wherever the capital came from. However, we make political gains or political talk with it. Oh, we grew at 8%. But I'm sure if you take the telcos and the oils and the mining out, we probably didn't grow anywhere near 8%. In a State of a Nation address, should the president say, listen, we've actually only grown 1%, but all the big growth are not for us, so we know where the state is, or should we just lump it all up and say, oh yeah, we grow 8%? Bishop, I'll stay with you.
See, the growth, it's important that we know where growth is coming from, and then maybe how it is distributed. Let's stay with the growth. Growth alone is not enough. It's necessary but not sufficient to ensure that we are able to meet our daily needs. Now, if you take the leakages from national economy, you identified one. Most of the businesses belong to others, and so they repatriate. When they come and do business in cities, borrow from our bank in cities, and they are going back home, they have to send back what? Dollars, pounds, and euro. Now, to what extent are our businesses ready to take the risk beyond being just agents? Satisfied with being 1% or 2%, maximum 5% agents of others. Our local businesses, we need to support them to be able to go the next step so that they have a stake. Right now, if you ask me, what are the national competencies when it comes to exploiting the petroleum sector? What are the enterprise capabilities so that we can insert them in the petroleum industry so they can hold equity and be able to participate, and so that when they come to sharing the profits from this, part of it will be retained in Ghana so we can realize multiply effect. It's going to be it's already a big problem.
Because President said there's been challenges, but 2014 is going to be a good year. But 2014 has already started. Water in the last 3 days has become a whole pandemonium. Doomsor subsidized, but it seems to be coming again because Wazi plant is down, and so this was becoming a problem. And then the almighty CD is having this big nosedive. With all these things, started, and, the Akansi, Agrobeso, if you're not part. Fuel prices are going up, utility prices are going up. TUC is, hinting that, this year you need to give us more money, we are not settling. Is there light at the end of the tunnel, even though I'm not supposed to say tunnel?
Well, I think sometimes things must look bleak in order to get better, and I think that some of these things that you mentioned are really necessary evils. You cannot have power prices that are below production costs, because that's like subsidizing, and how long are you going to be able to subsidize? So as painful as it may be, sometimes we must understand that we have to pay what the going price is. Obviously there's certain things that government must do. For instance, we need to look for other ways of supplying our power production plants away from light crude and into perhaps cheaper, using cheaper gas.
Because it seems government hasn't come up with that alternative. Government hasn't, all these problems that I have listed, we haven't seen or heard any, maybe tomorrow it will come, but we haven't seen any alternatives, as in wind power or biogas or something, because we know that crude is expensive, gas is not coming from nowhere. So
but the gas is coming.
No, it's not enough.
Well,
it's not enough at all.
Well, of course, I mean, you
not even half what we need as a nation.
Well, there's a West Africa pipe gas line.
They can't be bothered about us. Well, Nigeria needs its gas now.
Yeah, I understand, but we also have to use what we produce. You see, we can't flare it away.
Well, we've started flaring. We are going to produce 120 cubic feet, 120 million cubic feet. The gas, the FPSO is going to use 60 million and then give us 80. As we stand today, we need about 500 million cubic feet just to break even. Nigeria will give us 30, 40, 60 every now and then. So we are well behind on gas.
Definitely.
Diesel is very expensive, and there's no alternative in sight. So, I mean, I'm just saying that when we sit back and look at all these myriad of problems, how then do we say that, oh yeah, by December we should be,
Well, I don't think if anybody is painting that bright future that they're saying that by December you have whatever amount of cubic feet of gas.
Well, President said 2014, so I'm giving him up to December, which is the last.
I understand. What I'm saying is, I don't think that we should sit here and expect that every problem is going to be solved by. If I said it would be better, I'm referring, I have to have a starting point, and how is the end point going to compare to the starting point? And I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful because I have no other way to be than to be hopeful.
I'll stay with you because I know you like jobs. Now, it's only $1,000 to buy a toothpick machine, just $1,000. Would you wonder why, as a state, we can buy maybe 100 of these or 20 of these and set them up in communities? There's bamboo in abundance. Half of the youth planting bamboo and the other ones making them into toothpick and the other ones using it in their restaurants. I mean, why would such a thing be a challenge for us? Well,
now talk to me about you going into that business, and maybe I will invest in your company.
No, you see, the thing is, there's a whole section of the youth that are very, very unfortunate. So maybe you are okay. Maybe I am okay. I'm not saying I'm rich, but I'm okay. I don't want to go into toothpick business. However, there are millions of children pitched by traffic lights, and I don't have a bottomless pit to look after them. But the state could probably, in terms of helping people from coming from the rural area to the city, could, at least give 1,000 people jobs by make toothpick. There's a ready market for it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Well,
the organization that I chair, the Venture Capital Trust Fund, basically is in charge of developing the venture capital industry. You know, today we hear WhatsApp being sold for $19 billion, and we sit here and we're like, wow, I mean, what money were they making to be worth that kind of money? Well, they were probably living off of venture capital money. Somebody deciding that I'm going to take this risk. My money is very patient. I'm going to take this risk and wait it out, because at some point somebody is going to come and buy it, or we'll float it out, you know, on the stock exchange, and I'll get my money back and then some. Now, unfortunately, here we don't understand this concept, and so what we're trying to do is to basically educate people, grow the industry on both sides. The companies that need capital and the individuals who have capital to invest. So I think that that you know, these are all things that need to be done, awareness created, and a lot of time young people who have ideas, the problem is, well, you know, I don't have a rich uncle who's going to give me money to go start this business. So these are some of the things that we're doing. I think also that the new what's the name of the fund?
The Job Creation Fund.
Yeah. That is also, you know, something that I'm hopeful that once it starts getting disbursed, that is going to take some of this pressure away.
Now, I want viewers to know that all these issues we are talking about is not only pertain to this government. This is something that has started from probably the last 20 years, and everybody has left some of the bill for the other one to pay, and everybody leaves one to pay. So unfortunately, President Mahabir today has got, you know, bills to pay from his predecessors, and he's going to leave some for his successor to come and pay. So we're not blaming anybody. But I want to put the same question to Bishop, that why won't the state be able to sort of provide a toothpick machine and encourage some youth to plant bamboo, other ones to shape it, because we import them? I don't know. I mean, and I'm sure there are so many examples that I can list. You know, why wouldn't we do that?
I was in another discussion last week where it was disclosed that there's already a project dealing with the bamboo and toothpicks.
Okay.
So that has been dealt with.
So that's good news.
Yes. But that brings us to the issue of startup businesses and even existing businesses. Some people have the view that the state has no business doing business. So even the old businesses that we used to have, we've either sold them up or shut them down. In my village, we used to produce the best corned beef in the world. The meat factory is still waiting for investors. The tomato factory is still struggling, aiming to survive. You see, the rice mills, the garment factories, all of those that Nkrumah put up, most of them are dead. I'm hoping that the president would give us pointers as what he's going to do with some of these, and whether he's going to encourage private sector to pick them up, or the state is going to pick them up and later on offload them to the private sector. But we need to do something quick about them, because jobs should have been provided yesterday. So all the backlog need to be cleared, and this year more are joining the labor force. What are we going to do with the young, restless people? I know that in Nigeria every year there's what they call ideas fair. So they get leading businesses, they come together, and young people come with their ideas. And people either buy their ideas or they invest in their ideas. So every year, at least 3 or 4 get funded. They create jobs also. I think that in this country we need to do a similar thing. If you look at our export profile, it looks like every year not less than 600 new ideas are coming. But many of them get aborted, meaning that they don't get to stage of fruition. Why is high abortion rate? We need to find a formula to deal with those, and then move. In fact, we need to allow those who are inefficient to die, and support those who can help us step on the 20% lever that will deliver the 80% return, so that those can lead the growth process. Until we begin to do that, I don't like the idea of saying that you should pick and choose winners. No, once you have a program and targets and time-bound targets for businesses, Support them to do that. Those who don't make the grade, you have to let them go. Continue with those who make the grade.
I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, I want to find out about what happened to modesty and cutting down of executive expenditure. Stay tuned. Discussing the true state of affairs of the nation, true state of the nation ahead of tomorrow's true state of the nation. But I'll start with Kwesi, and I want to put Kwesi on the spot because you see, Kwesi was running for presidential candidate. So I just want to find out for you, what would you have done to cut executive expenditure? Bear in mind, it's a no-go area because your ministers want to drive in their V8s. They've been following you up and down the campaign trail, and you're not going to put them in any, TICO or I-10, So what would you do to cut expenditure?
Well, I don't think the problem is, yeah, it's a problem, but I don't think that's really where the issue of government expenditure really comes from. I think that the government payroll is just too big.
No, I'm not talking about the payroll. I'm just talking about executive expenditure. I mean,
I'm looking at
the government spent over by what, 600 million Ghana cedis, or come on, it's a lot. The payroll is one side. That's taking 60% of the check. That's one side, and then there's the government machinery itself also.
Yeah, I understand that needs to be addressed, but I'm saying that if we're really serious about tackling government expenditure, our eyes ought to be focused on government payroll. That is a very, very sensitive political subject, because the only way to do it is to lay some people off. And I don't know any government that can be comfortable with that idea. But that's what I would do. And frankly, the way I would do it is decide how much I can pay, and if that works out to be half of the workers in government, then the other half, even if I have to borrow money to buy out the quote unquote their contract, I'll do that. I'll save money. Whatever I save, I'll then give it to business. To industry and business to create more jobs, and then establish some training programs so that we can absorb these people into the private sector. Because without that, it's going to be very difficult.
Bishop, executive expenditure. I mean, modesty is out of the window when it comes to us. As a state, we go to multiple donors to get money to budget our budget. And these countries, they are co-equals there. They are ministers there. Live very modest lives. Public transport or fuel-efficient cars. Some even ride bicycles. And then when we get to Kotoka with their supplementary budget checks to come and budget out, their V8s are waiting for them on the tarmac to drive them to their offices to say, yeah, look at me. I went to UK, I went to India, I went to Holland, and they've given me a few million, so we can now pay our teachers. I mean, how do we tackle that?
I know at least one president who did something about that. One fine morning, he asked his ministers to join him at the stadium to drive their four wheels. When they get there, when you get there, your key is taken from you and you join the president up there. And then when they were leaving, they were giving alternative keys. So you go with your ladder. It's okay, this is what you need for your work. You need a four-wheel drive from your house to work. There's at least one there that you can use to go to the field. So that cuts down part of the expenses. The other one is the number of ministries. I don't know what the Constitution says about number of ministries.
Which president? Was it Lada? Is it somewhere in Russia or local?
It's just the type of car, but the country is around.
I know the Lada.
East Africa.
Yes, Lada. Yeah.
Let's see. The other one is around number of ministries. Couldn't we match some of them?
I mean, Achampon had a 40-member staff, including regional ministers and everything. There were 40 commissioners.
Right. But again, if we go by my brother's method, and we decided to retrench half of them, experience shows that when we did that in the 80s under ERP, the people joined the lower ranks, the so-called informal sector. So their productivity was 5 times less than what it was when they were where they were. So we are going to have an army of them joining.
I'm being told my time is up, so wrap it up for me.
That they are joining the lower ranks. So we're not going to realize any productivity gain. But if there's a guarantee that they are going to move to higher earning activities to help improve the economy, that could be discussed with labor. And if the package is good, I'm sure that labor will think about it.
Folks, this issue I think we need to do part 1, part 2, but clearly tomorrow after the president has spoken, we'll come back and compare what he tells us tomorrow to what he told us a year ago, see where the gaps are, and then see what the way forward is. But Bishop, thank you very much. Bishop Aklogo and Kwesi Amwafuyebo, thank you very much. And folks, as I said, tomorrow we'll be back to do it all over again.